My name is Bruno Sade from brunosade.com. I was watching a video recently by Tad Hargrave, the fellow who runs Marketing for Hippies, and he was talking about two of the possible reasons why people are stuck. And I was thinking, how could we use EFT to help us deal with these reasons? So the first reason he said is that sometimes we are stuck because we don't really know what to do or how to do it. This is very common when it comes to doing something that involves some kind of technology that we are not very familiar with. That if we don't know what to do or how to do it, it can stop us dead in our tracks. And then the second reason is that sometimes we might actually know what to do or how to do it, but we don't really want to do it. Or we could even say there's a part of us that for some reason doesn't want us to do it. So how could we apply EFT to deal with these reasons? The first reason being, I don't know what to do or how to do it. It can be useful to ask ourselves what could be a small step we could take that might get us a bit closer to having more clarity in terms of what to do or how to do it. So maybe there's someone that you can ask for some advice or guidance, or maybe you can do a search online on Google, or even with the new artificial intelligence software that's available, such as ChatGPT, perhaps you can ask it for some guidance. And as you think about taking any of these steps, perhaps the one that resonates the most, do you notice any unpleasant emotions, feelings, or sensations coming up? And if you do, that's where you could start applying EFT. So a setup statement might sound something like, when I think about asking my friend Mary for some advice on how to set up, let's say, a PayPal account, I feel embarrassed thinking that I might be bothering her. And I notice this embarrassment in my chest. And this is what I'm noticing right now. And then the reminder phrases, in this case, would be something like, this embarrassment in my chest. I might be bothering Mary if I ask for her help. This embarrassment in my chest. I might be bothering Mary if I ask for her help, and so on. Notice how we were able to come up with something specific to focus our tapping on, which would be, in this case, our feeling of embarrassment when thinking about the future event of asking someone we know for their help with something that we don't know what to do. And instead of saying, even though I accept myself, I use the more neutral alternative that I talked about in my previous video of saying, when I think about, and this is what I'm noticing right now. So either option is okay. And as usual, after you complete that round of tapping, stop to reassess what is your mind focusing on now and what feeling, emotion, or sensation comes up when you think about that. And you can turn that into the next setup statement for your next tapping round. So this was the first reason that Tad Hargrave was talking about in his video. Let's talk about the second reason, which is when we don't really want to do it, or there's a part of us that doesn't want us to do whatever action it is that we know what to do or how to do it. So let's say that there's a part of us that doesn't want us to do it. It can be very useful to ask ourselves, what reasons might this part of us have for not wanting us to do this? In other words, what might this part be trying to protect us from? Let's not be quick to dismiss those reasons. Like IFS, Internal Family Systems creator Richard Schwartz says, there are no bad parts. So they have reasons for why they act like they do or why they make us act the way we do. And it's important to acknowledge and validate those reasons and see how we can get everyone's needs met, let's say. So sometimes the different parts of us, maybe they don't have the full picture, or they are somehow stuck in the past, or their perception isn't completely accurate when it comes to our present circumstances. But that being said, it's still important to try to answer, what reasons might this part have for not wanting us to do this? And perhaps those reasons point out that actually that action that you are not being able to do is actually something that perhaps is not meant for you. Maybe there's a simpler or more enjoyable way. So using the example I mentioned earlier, asking our friend Mary for help setting up a PayPal account. Let's say that this part of you is concerned that Mary tends to be condescending whenever we ask her for help. And so this part doesn't want to feel talked down to. So perhaps there's someone else that we could reach out to for help who isn't so condescending. And maybe our friend Kim. And maybe when it comes to asking our friend Kim to help us set up a PayPal account, that doesn't bring up so much resistance or fear from this part. And it's simply an easier, more aligned path. And then in that case, just being aware of that can help us get unstuck in this small area. But sometimes you might notice that these parts that we have might actually benefit from doing some tapping to diminish or release the unpleasant emotional charge they might have about something that happened in the past that they are being reminded of, or something that might happen in the future that they are concerned about. So a useful question would be, are there any mental images or any events, past events or future events coming up when thinking about that? And as you think about that, what feeling, emotion, or sensation do you notice coming up for you now? And that's, again, where you can apply EFT on. So using a different example, let's say that you want to write an article to share on social media. And when you think about doing it, you notice there's a part of you that's concerned that people are going to think it's too boring to read. As you think about that, as you imagine having written the article and people thinking, oh, this is too boring, what feeling, emotion, or sensation do you notice coming up for you now? And you can start with a setup statement that might sound something like this. When I think about writing this article, there's a part of me that's worried that other people are going to think it's too boring to read. And when I imagine those people thinking that about my article, I feel this tightness in my chest. And this is what I'm noticing right now. In this case, the reminder phrases might be something like this tightness in my chest. When I imagine them thinking that what I wrote is too boring, this tightness in my chest, they're thinking that what I wrote is too boring, and so on. So, as usual, notice how we were able to come up with something specific to tap on. In this case, our feelings when thinking about the possible future event of people thinking that our article was too boring. And as usual, after that round, stop to reassess what is your mind focusing on now and how do you feel about that now in the present moment so that you can adjust your phrases accordingly for the next round. And of course, like I usually say, if there's any memory, any past or future event that might feel like it's too emotionally intense or traumatic to work on by yourself, or maybe it's a bit too difficult to keep track of all the different aspects that might be at play when trying to work on your issues, feel free to enlist the aid of a certified EFT practitioner, perhaps also who has a mental health background, such as myself. Otherwise, feel free to try to do it by yourself. That's it for today. I hope this was useful, and I look forward to seeing you again in one of my next videos.